Ben Shapiro talking about sort of the cowardice, I believe, of Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson as they continue to lie and show a lack of morals and have brain rot, basically due to their Jew hatred. We'll start with Ben Shapiro.
Yesterday, Tucker Carlson, who is leader of the Cuck coalition here, yesterday on his show, he suggested that the war was being waged only, not because America had any interest, only because Israel wanted the war, which, of course, has been denied by the Trump administration. The facts are against it. Facts never got in the way of a good clickable story for Tucker Carlson.
This happened because Israel wanted it to happen. This is Israel's war. This is not the United States' war. This war is not being waged on behalf of American national security objectives to make the United States safer or richer. This war is not actually even about weapons of mass destruction, nukes, chem bio. No, this war is waged purely because Israel wanted it to be waged.
One of the things that's fascinating about Tucker's show yesterday is he barely mentioned the man who is in charge of the war and declared it, the president of the United States, because Tucker is a coward. He is.
I like how Ben Shapiro called him the Cuck Coalition. That's funny. Yeah, Tucker Carlson seems to be too smart to just blatantly lie, but he has sort of blatantly lied recently. Usually he tells like on one of my streams the other day, he tells, like I said, I talked about this based on an X article, like he'll like say like a half truth, kind of like Candace, and then he'll use that to sort of fabricate and exaggerate the entire truth, that's like the total truth because of one little piece of fact that he might have found, and then that becomes the whole truth. And so and then he says it with such confidence and sincerity, and he hides behind like his Christian values, and he's so moral and kind. And then his audience of millions of people goes home thinking they have the full truth, like that the only reason that America is in this war is because of Israel, which is a blatant lie. It's false. The video we just watched on X also dispelled that, and the history between U.S. and Iran, and how Iran sponsors terrorism all over the world, and it's in America's best interest to be fighting this war. Should there be boots on the ground? That's a different conversation. How long should we go? That's a different conversation. But to say only is a ridiculous statement. But now Tucker Carlson seems to be just flat out lying. And to see who believes him, I think he's like kind of laughing in the background saying, I can't believe these people still believe me. I'm basically just lying out of my ass. He talked about some Mossad agents being in Qatar. That was like debunked immediately, almost like 2 hours later. And the thing about him is, because he's such a coward, he never comes back on his show to say, I got something wrong. If you talk about the things that these people talk about on a consistent basis, like every single day, of course you're going to get stuff wrong. Your intel might be wrong. The journalism might be wrong. Something might have been posted too early and then taken back, and then there's new evidence, and you just go on your show and say, I apologize. I thought this was correct at the time. This is now what is correct. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, these people refuse to acknowledge their mistakes and hold themselves accountable, and they just care about views and clicks and how much fucking people can watch their show and how many lies they can spew and how much Jew hatred they can spew. And it's just like a ridiculous thing that some of the most popular people in America are these people who sort of lack this moral integrity to actually do what's right. And then if you listen to people who are on their side, quote unquote, their side, they're going to say that, Tucker and Dave Smith or all these people are paragons of virtue. All they do is say the truth. They're fighting the good fight because they're going against Israel and the Jews. And it's like, you guys don't even have any fucking facts right. It's like, whatever. Anyways, let's continue to talk to Ben.
A coward. Let me express again. The president of the United States is the one who commands the armed services of the United States. If Tucker wants to claim that Donald J. Trump is a tool of the Jews, which is clearly what he wants to say, he should just say it. But he's a coward. Not only is he a coward, he's a disseminator of absolute lies. Lies so bad that his Qatari handlers could not even justify the lies. So yesterday on his show, Tucker put out the bizarre theory that Mossad agents had been arrested in Qatar and Saudi Arabia trying to bomb targets, which of course makes zero sense since Qatar, Saudi, and Israel are on the same side of this.
I had no idea that Ben was going to say that, but yeah, there we go. Prove my point.
War. But here he was yesterday making a claim so overtly false that the government of Qatar, again, he's best friends with those people. He's got a nice house in Qatar, apparently. Even they had to say they didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
So it's probably hasn't been reported, but it's a fact that last night in Qatar and Saudi Arabia, authorities arrested Mossad agents.
That's crazy. Hasn't been reported, but it's a fact. That's his like claim right there.
On committing bombings in those countries. Now, that's weird. That doesn't make any sense. why would the Israelis be committing bombings in two Gulf countries, which are also being attacked by Iran? Aren't they on the same side? No, no. Israel wants to hurt Iran and Qatar and UAE and Saudi and Bahrain and Oman and Kuwait.
You might want to slow down on those out pouches, bud. I mean, seriously, because what the actual F are you?
The nicotine has gone straight to Tucker Carlson's dome. Let's see. We got a comment on YouTube. Tucker Carlson is only propagating those church fathers that make up replacement theology. Have you looked it up? No, I have not looked that up. What's that all about? Piptar 1996. Anyways, yeah. I chew tobacco. You might have seen me chew tobacco on a stream before. But Tucker Carlson, that shit is going straight to his dome, straight to his veins, and he's out of control. He's fucking high on nicotine, this guy, talking about random nonsense that the Qatari government, who he's best friends with, like Ben Shapiro was saying, has to come out and debunk his statement. And then again, he never goes back on his fucking show and says, hey, I got that wrong. That's misinformation. I missaid that. My fault. I think he did it one time about saying someone was in the Epstein files when they weren't. And it was like a whole monologue bullshit speech filled with like half-truths and crap and all the stuff that he does, hiding behind his like Christian virtues. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
We're talking about. Now, we know what he's trying to do there. Tucker is trying to suggest that pretty much all attacks on everyone outside of Israel is a false flag operation. That's what he's clearly trying to suggest there. And I find it strangely suspicious that just a few hours later, the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh was attacked by drones, according to the Saudi Defense Forces. Okay, so just a few hours after Tucker suggested that a false flag would basically occur in Saudi, there was a drone attack in Saudi from the Iranians, according to the Saudis. Strange. Very, very strange. But let's be real. Tucker has his conspiracy theory, and he's sticking to it. And the idea is that the United States government is controlled by the Jews. That is essentially the claim that he is making. Megyn Kelly has also jumped on this bandwagon, apparently for the clicks and giggles of it.
No one should have to die for a foreign country. I don't think those 4 service members died for the United States. I think they died for Iran or for Israel. I think I understand how this helps Iran perfectly well. I get it. I mean, I hope. Long term, we'll see. But they seem rather jubilant. 80% of the country does not support the Ayatollah. He was a terrible, terrible man. No one's crying that he's dead. No normal person. But our government's job is not to look out for Iran or for Israel. It's to look out for us. And this feels very much to me like it is clearly Israel's war. Mark Levin wanted it. It's his war. Ben Shapiro, Lindsey Graham, Miriam Adelson. That's obvious.
Okay, so first of all, the ugly suggestion that Mark Levin is somehow a traitor to the United States, that it's Israel's war, and Mark Levin wanted it because it's Israel's war. Or
I saw some stuff online about the 6 United States servicemen that died, I think, in Kuwait or whatever. May their memory be a blessing. God bless them and thank you for their service. And I saw a bunch of veterans come out and basically say, like, these did not die for anyone else. They died for America. They knew the price they would potentially pay when they signed up and put on the uniform. And unfortunately, that's part of the deal of joining the military. And I'm speaking on their behalf. I don't know anything about being in the military or being a veteran. It's not my place. But there is some sense of, you hear Jocko Willink talk about it. There is a sense of pride and duty when you put on the uniform, and you're not dying for anyone else. You're dying simply because you're trying to defend America and its values, and that's what you're asked to do for your country. Now, of course, you don't want anyone to die. You want no one to go back to have to tell their family that they lost someone that they love, or their wife or their kids. They want to have a husband or a father, or whatever the case may be. That's the most horrific, tragic thing that's ever going to happen in war. And losing someone you love is fucking terrible. It's the worst fucking thing that happens to us as people. But to say they died for someone else's war, someone else's country, I think is wrong. And a disrespect to the men and women who actually do put on the uniform every single day to protect our freedom. And I think Megyn Kelly got that wrong. She also went on another tirade a couple of days ago. I don't know where it was. There's just too much content to fucking consume at this point, where she guarantees that everyone who posts a single pro-Israel post on X is getting $7,000. That's an absurd claim. There's been no evidence to suggest that. And influencers get paid all the time. I've never got paid $7K. So I don't know. I don't know who is getting paid $7K, but that's not happening to every single person who posts about Israel online. That's just a flat out lie and another sort of conspiratorial thing that Israel's controlling this and that. I mean, Qatar gives money to influencers. You can see how much it's influenced Tucker Carlson and his decisions. He's got a damn house there, right? So who knows who's getting paid from who, but certainly the people that I know that have been on my podcast and I've talked to, that I DM with, are not getting paid $7K per post. That's an absurd, again, blatant lie, and more sort of brain rot based on Jew hatred, and more brain rot based on lack of values, and more brain rot based on I'm only care about clicks. Megyn Kelly, again, made another post the other day about how many views she had in February. It's like, that's her basis for everything she does in her life. How many fucking views can I get? That's the most important thing. And like, if that's your most important thing, you're just gonna go with wherever the wind takes you. All right, Jew hatred's really popular right now. This conspiracy is really popular right now. All right, trans is really popular right now. I'm gonna talk about that, and that, only that, and then I'm gonna move on to something else, and I'm just gonna go over the wind goes, because I have no morals, no stance, no values that I take based on the issues that I see in the world, and I don't care how I manipulate or gaslight my audience. That's kind of how it is, and I see it. All right, let's continue with Ben.
On it, or Lindsey Graham or Miriam Adelson. Really disgusting stuff from Megyn Kelly, but predictable at this point. You know whose war this is? President Donald J. Trump's war. He's the president of the United States. He commands the United States military. She is such a coward. She is such an unbelievable coward. You don't like President Trump? You don't like what he's saying? Just say his name, you coward. You unbelievable coward. Tucker and Megyn both. Unbelievable cowardice. Say his name. You won't. You won't. And of course, Megyn is wildly inconsistent. In October 2024, she tweeted, quote, "I was in the Situation Room when things got bad" is not a response to "you haven't treated Iran like our number one threat." So there she was labeling Iran our number one threat in 2024, but something has changed. Could it be clickable algorithmic idiocy? We'll get some more on this in a moment. First, let's be honest, buying seafood, that feels like a gamble. That's why I'd like to tell you about our sponsor, Wild Alaskan.
No one cares about
Company.
Wild Alaskan, bro.
To get wild caught, perfectly box. Of course, the issue here is not just that Megyn Kelly has some questionable principles and has been programming directly into the Groyper right. It is that she remains a coward. Remember, this is still the woman who says she is friends with Candace Owens and has literally nothing to say for months at this point about the lady who keeps attacking her supposed friend Erica Kirk day after day after day after day. By the way, here's how Candace Owens spent her crazy day yesterday.
Charlie was removed, and in his place, we got a Shabbat Shalomin, not so grieving widow. This is the book my Charlie wanted you to read. He just finished it. He loves the Jews. He just finished speaking about how much he loves to Shabbat and to Shalom and to say daddy's home and to throw down his phone, Barry Weiss.
We are months into...
What the fuck was that? What the fuck? I don't watch Candace Owens' show at all, but that was kind of insane. She also said, what did she say recently? I saw some sort of tweet. What'd she say? I don't know. That Charlie Kirk was they had to kill Charlie Kirk for the war to start. Like, what is all this talk? What is she talking about? And then I did a video about her thinking that the Jews aren't the real Jews in Israel. They're the Khazarian Turks and all this stuff. It's like all backwards ass shit that doesn't make any sense. That's been debunked through genetic testing and all this type of stuff. But that was a hilarious clip. Her little rhymes and stuff, her little CIA fucking girl mug thing right there. Oh man, all these people, you wonder, it's like, have they really lost their mind, or are they getting a big enough check? Like, or is it both? Like, that's an interesting thing that we may never figure out. But as Ben keeps saying, right, they're cowardice. And Candace plays the same game that Tucker does, half truths with mixing with like one little piece of truth evidence and then layered on top of a bunch of bullshit. So the audience goes home thinking they heard this revelation when really they heard a bunch of nonsense garbage that was made up, that came to them in their dreams and their demons by their time traveling friends. It's like, holy cow.
Kelly's silence on this. Months. After all, according to Megyn Kelly, she would rather die than condemn Candace. Very strange. For what reasons Megyn will go to the wall. Very, very, very strange. Very strange indeed. Meanwhile, MTG still wandering the wilds, but of course has a home on Megyn Kelly's show where she can spew her nonsense. Here she was implying that President Trump is going to hell.
Megyn, this really needs to be said. Donald Trump has said repeatedly on camera and in interviews, he doesn't think he's going to heaven. Well, I want to ask a question, a serious question. What is in his mind? What is his mental state? If he doesn't think he's going to heaven, and he is a man towards the end, he's in the fourth quarter, he's towards the end of his life. How does that pan out for the rest of us when we have a president of the United States who doesn't think and is convinced he's not going to heaven? What does that mean his decision making is?
This disgusting conspiratorial nonsense. My goodness. How the horseshoe right has
Horseshoe right.
gotten uglier and uglier day in and day out. Astonishing stuff. The president of the United States, by the way.
Horseshoe right, woke right, groper right. It's all the same kind of bullshit.
Was asked about the Tucker Carlson, Megyn and Kelly horseshoe right. And he said, MAGA is Trump. MAGA is not the other two. He said that Carlson can, quote, say whatever he wants. It has no impact on me, which is a pretty cold rip from the president. On Megyn Kelly, Trump said, Megyn was opposed to me for years when I ran the first time and nothing stopped me. And so, some people are against and they always come back. She came all the way back. But now I guess she maybe doesn't like the idea of this war. But I do, because I have to keep nuclear weapons out of the hands of the Iranians. Yeah, that is the president being very, very, very nice. Now, again, the goal here from Iran is to provide fodder for all of these people, for the lying left and the horseshoe right, in an attempt to shift Americans away from support. And of course, the polls are not particularly favorable toward this intervention by the United States. Not a gigantic shock. The reality is that the president, in favor of a winning strategy, forewent making months of case about what to do. So right now, something like 59% of Americans, according to the new Reuters Ipsos poll, say that they are against this sort of intervention. But here's the thing. In a short war with actual goals, the only thing that matters is whether we win or not. And that is not up to the podcast boys and girls. It is not up to the Democrats in Congress and outside Congress and the legacy media. It only matters if the president loses his mettle. And President Trump, whose war this is, and whose name I am happy to mention because he's the man who made the call, a courageous call, in my opinion. He says he is not losing his mettle. All you people who think he's going to get bored, he ain't bored.
Cool. Thanks, Ben Shapiro.